The Island Called Home by Sean Berlin. In one of the oceans, which is like a sea, only much bigger, there's an island no one knows about. That is, no human even knows it exists. It doesn't show up on maps, and no human has ever set foot on it. And this island is truly special. An island is a small patch of land completely surrounded by water. Some islands are so small you can walk from one beach to the other, and sometimes you can even stroll all the way around the beach in one big loop. This island is special for a few reasons. First of all, its shape looks just like the number 8. Picture the number 8 made of sand. That's the island land, and it's surrounded by ocean. The circles that make up the 8 are filled with water, so the island has beaches on the outside and on the inside. The island is small enough to walk around the inner beaches with ease. You can even stroll the outer beach in a big loop, ending right where you began, so it's easy to get anywhere from anywhere on the island. The water inside the circles is nice and shallow, so you can step right in and stand wherever you like. And there's a special effect caused by the water creatures and plants, something that happens only there and nowhere else on Earth. So, the water creatures and plants do something special that turns all the water in the circles fresh good for drinking and bathing. Another reason this island is special is that it's home to some truly unique and super cute creatures. This island is a home to a mergirl and a merboy. People have heard of mermaids, creatures that are similar to mergirls, but not quite the same. But no one has ever even heard of merboys. There's also a sea hedgehog, who's best friends with a sea panda, and no one in the entire world has ever seen either one. Pandas always live outside the water, and here there's one that lives in the water. The sea panda has feet like a duck's, with webbed toes that help him swim fast. The back half of each animal's body is a fin, and if the land version of that animal has a tail, then the tail sticks out from the fin. The sea cat has something around her body that looks like a jellyfish, shaped just like a flowing skirt. It helps her dance even better. Above her fin is the regular kind of tail that cats have, and the tip of her tail is shaped like a heart. The animals spend their days on the island full of joy. The animals love to bathe together and play in the water for hours. It's just like a giant outdoor bathtub full of wonderful things, because they can drink the water and they even have food inside the water. And the water keeps getting refreshed. Seawater flows inside the circles and turns sweet thanks to the water creatures and plants. And some of the water flows back out to the ocean. Remember how we said the island is shaped like the number 8, with its 2 circles like freshwater pools? Well, it's even more special than that. First of all, one pool always has warm water, and the other always stays cool. So if the animals want to make tea, they use water from the warm pool. And if they want to make a cold drink, they use water from the cool pool. And it's the same when they take a bath. Sometimes they like warm water, like in the winter, when it's chilly outside. Other times they prefer cool water, like on a spring day after running around the beach all day. The animals talked it over and realized the water was either warm or cool, but sometimes they just want something in between. Lukewarm, not hot, not cold, just right. So they dug a channel between the 2 circles, between the 2 pools of water, and ever since the warm and cool water can flow from one side to the other. In the channel between the 2 pools, the warm and cool water meet and mix, so the temperature there is right in the middle. Even though the channel connects the pools, each one keeps its own temperature. One stays warm, the other stays cool. The channel doesn't really change them. When people write the number 8, the line between the two circles is very thin because it's written with a pencil or a pen. But on this island that looks like a number 8, the line between the two circles isn't thin because this number 8 is huge. After all, it's an island, and islands are pretty big, so each circle is actually pretty wide. Imagine the number 8 is an island, then the line between the two circles isn't pencil thin, but as wide as 10 buses lined up end to end. Imagine one bus, and now place another one right behind it, front to back, the long way. That's how buses look when lined up end to end. From above, a bus looks like a narrow rectangle, so its length is the long side. Then add another bus and another until there are 10 buses in total. So those 10 buses make a really big space. That's how wide the line is. It's nothing like the thin line you get from a pencil. It's just that from up in the sky, the island looks like a number 8. That's why people say it looks like the number 8. So digging the channel wasn't exactly a picnic. It took the animals a whole day of hard work, but they had a great time. It felt just like playing in the sand at the beach. One day, out of the blue, a ship began sailing toward the island, but the animals had no idea what it was. They had never even heard of a ship, so they couldn't make sense of what they were looking at. We humans know what ships are, but these animals had lived their entire lives on the island. They were born there and never left, so they had never seen a ship or even heard of one. Out of all the animals, only the merboy and mergirl sometimes spent time with humans. So they were the only ones who knew what human ships are. The merboy and mergirl spent most of their time on the island, but every now and then they swam to the mainland and stayed with humans. So when the ship came closer, none of the animals, except for the merboy and mergirl, understood that it was a ship made by humans. They had no idea what it was. The sea hedgehog was curious and swam closer to the shore, but the sea panda and sea cat grew scared. The ship looked enormous, like a giant frightening beast. The merboy and mergirl, who knew exactly what it was, gasped, "Ho! Everybody, hide! Humans are coming!" They knew that if humans visited the island and saw the adorable, one-of-a-kind animals living there, the sea panda, the sea hedgehog, and the sea cat, they might try to take them away to show them off in a museum or a zoo. But that would mean taking them away from their home, the island. So they knew they had to hide. So they told everyone to hide and started explaining what a ship is, that it was built by humans, who humans are, and more information like that. The animals couldn't just hide in the water. They might be seen because the water was crystal clear. As mentioned, the water was shallow inside the loops of the 8. Outside the 8 was the open ocean. Those waters were clear too, but you could dive much deeper, and the deeper you go, the harder it is to see you. They also thought about hiding among the corals, rocks, and seaweed inside the loops in the 8. But they were worried it wouldn't be enough to keep them out of sight. The merboy and mergirl quickly came up with a clever plan and told the animals exactly what to do. In the shallow water there was a ring of stones. The animals quickly gathered lots of seaweed, tied it all together, and made a long strand from it. They tied the strand to a flat white stone. Then, once they were inside the stone ring, they pulled the strand, and the stone lifted up and covered them from above. That's where they hid. Meanwhile, the mergirl and merboy came up to the shore, turned their tails into legs, and watched the humans to see what they would do next. A few minutes after the animals finished hiding, the humans reached the shore and anchored their ship near the island. To anchor a ship means to stop it by dropping a heavy anchor so it stays in place. An anchor is a heavy weight tied to a chain that's connected to the ship. When it's dropped into the sea, it sinks deep down. Because it's so heavy and so deep, and it's chained to the ship, it keeps the ship from floating away. The anchor was so heavy and its mechanism was broken that only a few of the strongest crew members were able to lift it and toss it into the sea. The crew lowered a wide wooden plank from the ship to the shore and used it to walk onto the island. While watching, the mergirl and merboy noticed something troubling. The humans were starting to set up tents on the island. They turned their legs back into tails, swam down to their friends, and said, since they could talk underwater, "Oh no, they are starting to settle here." The animals were afraid that humans might stay on the island, which would mean they couldn't come back up. They also feared that humans would mark the island on their maps and that people would start coming here all the time. So the mergirl and merboy said, "We have an idea. Let's scare them. We'll make them think there are ghosts on this island, so they won't want to come back." Together, the animals came up with their plan underwater and got ready to carry it out. Meanwhile, the humans who had settled in started saying, "This place is beautiful," and kept praising how lovely it was. They even started enjoying the shallow, pleasant water, both the cool side and the warm side. They also saw the channel and enjoyed it too, but they wondered how it got there. It didn't seem natural, but they couldn't imagine anyone living here. The animals were ready, and their plan to scare the crew was set in motion. The merboy and the mergirl were the first to rise from the sea. They turned their tails into legs again and started walking toward the crew. The crew saw them from afar and froze in shock. They had no idea where these two had come from. The island was pretty flat, and they hadn't seen a single sign of people, not when they looked through their telescope from the ship, and not when they walked onto the shore. Suddenly, the merboy and mergirl ran straight toward them, then stopped all at once and stood perfectly still, like statues. The crew asked cautiously, "Who are you? Where did you come from? How did you even get to this island? We don't see your ship anywhere." After about a minute, the merboy and mergirl suddenly burst off their statue pose and shouted, "You have to get out of here! There are ghosts on this island!" Then they ran off, away from the crew. The crew was stunned. They looked at each other. No one had any idea what had just happened. They looked toward where the merboy and mergirl had appeared, then looked to where they had run, and when they looked back toward the merboy and mergirl, the two were gone. Why? Because while the crew was looking at one another and off to the side, the merboy and mergirl turned their legs into tails again and slipped into the water without anyone noticing. As a result, the crew was terrified. First, because they'd been told there were ghosts, and second, because they couldn't figure out where those people had come from. They didn't realize these two were a merboy and mergirl, since they looked like regular people with no tails. So, where did they come from? There was no ship. And third, they had suddenly vanished. Really strange. So they started thinking, maybe those two were ghosts? But that didn't make sense. Why would ghosts get scared and warn other people about ghosts? So the whole thing was just weird. After the merboy and mergirl did their part, the animals continued with the second stage of the plan. Now it was the sea hedgehog and sea panda's turn. The sea hedgehog dressed up in a wolf costume, and the sea panda dressed up in a lion costume. They came out of the water and started walking across the beach toward the crew in their costumes. And the crew was terrified at the sight of a lion and a wolf. They cried, "Oh no, there's a lion and a wolf! What if they eat us? And where did they even come from? Maybe they are ghosts too?" The sea hedgehog and the sea panda, dressed in costume, started charging toward them. The crew was so terrified they turned and ran straight back toward the ship. And while the crew was running, the sea hedgehog and the sea panda dove back into the water, deep, deep down. They ran and ran and ran. Suddenly, while running, they looked back to see how close the lion and the wolf were. But to their surprise, no one was there. Nothing at all. The animals had vanished. The crew stopped, stunned and confused. How could a lion and a wolf end up on an island in the middle of the ocean? After all, lions and wolves don't live on islands in the middle of the ocean. And how did they suddenly show up? And how did they suddenly vanish? Some of the crew started saying, "Let's get out of here. This place really is haunted." But others said, "No, come on, let's stay. Everything is totally fine." So they started to argue. But then came the moment that ended the argument and sent everyone running, the third and final part of the animals' plan. The sea cat put on a giant bear costume. She emerged from the water and crept slowly toward the frightened crew without being seen. And we said the sea cat knows how to dance, right? So when she was close enough, she suddenly rose up and began to dance. The crew suddenly saw a huge bear right next to them, dancing. They thought, "We must be seeing a ghost, because who's ever heard of a dancing bear?" It looked like a capoeira dance. Then the dance became more like a battle dance, and the crew got even more scared. The captain shouted, "Forget the tents! Drop everything! Run to the ship!" So everyone ran and jumped on board, and they sailed away as fast as they could. And the animals who lived on the island were overjoyed because they'd managed to scare the humans away without even being seen, and the humans didn't mark the island on their map. They said it wasn't a good place to stop. So the animals got to keep living there peacefully and happily, right up to this very day.